We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
Terry. Terry bought a TCL 55P607. He says it provides excellent picture quality at a price even lower than Vizio, so he's happy with it so far. Very happy with it so far. However, he wanted to use HDMI ARC or audio return channel since the TCL has Roku built in, and he has a surround sound setup using an Onkyo TX-NR 1009 receiver. He knew the basics, that only one of TCL's HDMI inputs offers ARC, audio return channel, and that only the primary HDMI output of his Onkyo offers ARC. So he carefully wired things together using the proper ports. Let's take a quick break here to mention that audio return channel allows the display to send audio back down the HDMI. Usually the HDMI cable you think of as a one-way street. It goes from the receiver, from the source to the receiver, and then the second one goes from the receiver to the display. Okay, and the receiver display, it sends video and sometimes audio depending on how you're running your setup, but it doesn't necessarily go the other direction. Doesn't usually go the other direction. Audio return channel can. What it means is that the display, if it has something going on inside there, which nowadays there's lots of, especially this one, which has Roku built in, they have apps and stuff, you can send the audio back down that same HDMI cable to the receiver. And that's what he's trying to implement here. Okay, it didn't work right away. So he wound up having to call Onkyo tech support. They walked him through having to turn on something Onkyo calls RIHD, which is their name for HDMI-CEC.
Yeah.
It still didn't work, so he scoured the TCL setup menus, and buried in one of their selections were adjustments for its version of CEC, HDMI-CEC, which one of which was to turn ARC or audio return channel on. Why is making ARC function so ridiculously complicated and confusing? Shouldn't it be possible to have a simple message pop up when you connect the two ARC ports together, asking the user if they want to use ARC? Oh,
Wouldn't that be a world?
That is totally not the easy way to do that. Okay, first of all, do you understand how many times we would have to answer the "what do I do" when it tells me and it asks me if I want do I want it on or do I want it off? What do we want? And that's exactly what they were trying to get away from. Now, they don't want to have to deal with those customer service support complaints. Why they bury it in here? My guess is that HDMI-CEC is basically the two devices talking to each other in order to know their states and all this other stuff. It makes sense that within that functionality is where ARC would live. That just makes sense to me.
But I mean, if you're not a technical person, how on earth would you know that? I mean, you're not even going to know what HDMI-CEC stands for. That's a bunch of alphabets.
First of all, nobody's even calling it that. They don't call it that. They call it RIHD or something like that, or smart.
Samsung calls it AnyNet Plus.
Oh, I mean, God, that's just the worst. AnyNet Plus is just like, I didn't know what that meant. I was
LG's is what? Simplink?
Oh, Link. Right? Whenever you say Link, I'm guessing it's HDMI-CEC.
Well, sure, but I mean, if you're non-technical, how on earth would you know that?
I understand. So you're right. Yeah. I'm not saying you're right. I'm saying that. How long have we had this podcast? How long have you been on this podcast with me? How about that?
I mean, 5 years, I guess. About
that, right? How many times have we got asked about ARC? Yeah,
not that often, really. And that's the other thing. I mean, the vast majority of people don't have an AV receiver with surround sound.
Yeah.
Now, where there's going to be more common would be a sound bar, maybe, because quite a few sound bars now have HDMI connections and use the audio return channel.
And those people who are doing those sorts of things a lot of times have the same brand.
Yeah. But
sound
really,
bar.
the vast majority of people just use the TV's built-in speakers. So that's kind of why the default is to have it turned off so that it's not doing weird stuff between the sources and the display. Yeah. And they're kind of like, well, for the few people who actually need it, maybe they'll dig through the manual like you did and find the thing. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it is dumb. Of course, this should be more user friendly. This is supposed to be consumer electronics, right? Of course, it should be better than it is. But HDMI is a bag of hurt.
I think that's what they think consumer electronics means. Like we sell it to them, and then they use it up, and then they buy some more. And
pretty much.
That's what they. I think that's the consume part for them. I don't think it's that we are customers that need servicing or devices that make sense. I mean, can we all agree that the PlayStation's menus and really the Xbox menus aren't that much better, but the PlayStation, especially the PlayStation 3 menus, were just like an exercise in stupidity. Like you had 3 different places that you could make video setting adjustments on that thing. At least 2 places for audio that I can think of off the top of my head. Right? Insane menu structure, and they're like, this is a game system supposedly for children. At least yes, we may all be buying them for our kids, and then we buy Grand Theft Auto 5 at the same time, so we really know who we're buying it for. But honestly, that menu system's stupid, like crazy, and we're really surprised that audio return channel is hard to do. I mean, first of all, has anybody ever found a use for the Ethernet built-in stuff that they're supposed to do?
Oh,
that's a thing that exists in HDMI.
HDMI with Ethernet, yeah.
The Ethernet
that's really not been done.
Supposed to be everything that you plug into with an HDMI cable should all have access to the internet from whatever device connected to it has access to the internet. Should all work. Never.
Nope, never really been done.
Never done. It's stupidly stupid. So, yeah, this is just another instance of HDMI sucking. So, welcome to, I guess, when did HDMI come out? 2000? Monty is looking for...
No, we didn't get a second question.
There's a second question? Oh, yep. I'm sorry. We've been warning people for ages to always turn HDMI-CEC off, and he agrees with us since it has caused him issues in the past. But ARC apparently requires CEC to be on, so why? I already answered that. I think I know why. And why can't manufacturers come up with a better and more straightforward way to implement ARC?
So
there's no monetary motivation behind that. That's why.
There are some, like my Marantz AV receiver, ARC is actually separate from HDMI-CEC.
Okay.
So it is possible to implement them as separate things, but the main reason they typically require you to turn HDMI-CEC on is because, let's say you activate your TCL Roku TV's built-in Netflix app.
Okay.
What they want to have happen is that you hit the Netflix button, it goes to the Netflix app, and because of HDMI-CEC, the TV automatically sends a signal to your AV receiver to turn the AV receiver to the TV input. And on a lot of AV receivers, the TV input, which is what is the name for the audio return channel, is not actually an input you can manually select. A lot of them are set up so that it only auto-selects that when it receives an audio return channel signal. So for that bi-directional signal stuff to work, for it to sense that it's supposed to go to the TV input, HDMI-CEC has to be active for that to work. So it really depends on if your AV receiver has a manual way for you to activate the ARC input or not. If it doesn't, then it's relying on HDMI-CEC to send it the signal so it knows to go to the correct input. That's the why. It's a stupid why, but that's the why. Why isn't it simpler and easier to implement? Why isn't all of HDMI better? The whole thing is bad.
I know.
It's all copy protection.
I was going to say it is copy protection. That is what HDMI is about. HDMI has never been about consumer level
performance.
Well, not even performance, convenience. It was sold. The bill of goods we were sold is one cable solution. Your life's going to be easier, and they have wrapped up a one cable solution, a cable that's designed idiotically, that performs in such a way that makes troubleshooting with it almost impossible.
Yeah.
Like once something goes wrong, it used to be you could unplug something and plug in something else, and you would know that it was the cable was the issue. You can't do that with HDMI. And it's all the bill of goods we were sold is this was going to make our lives easier. All it's going to make it more difficult, more expensive because the cable is really hard to create, and it's all because of copy protection.
19 twisted pairs. That's all you have to know. Inside of that cable are 19 twisted pairs of wire.
Why?
terrible design.
Just could have done the whole thing with fiber optics. Just as easily. Just cheap. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.